What is going on, friends and family, beautiful people of the world? It's your boy Joe here, back at it again with another episode. Welcome back to Anything Goes with Joe, the podcast where we not only talk about anything and everything, but we aim to change the perspectives and opinions on people with disabilities. I just want to say shout out to everybody that supported me in the last video. Y'all really did a number on that, man. Y'all really made me feel like it was good. You know what I'm saying? You guys made me feel like it was like very well appreciated. Anyways, yeah, man, I really, you know what I'm saying, was kind of like torn between posting that because I wasn't really sure if I really wanted to do something like that. It was just kind of like, well, if I don't do it, then when am I ever gonna do it? You know what I'm saying? And I say this all the time, every single episode. I know this is something that I want to do. I just wanted to make sure that this was something that I was ready for. I do want to issue apologies in advance because this episode in particular, yes, it is a different one, but also it was supposed to be my first ever video episode, so it was gonna be like a freaking person to person type of thing, person to person type of experience. And you know what, guys? I'm just being honest. Like, I tried filming this video several times throughout yesterday. I was going at it for about 4 or 5 hours. Then I just realized that it just wasn't for me. I'm not ready for that yet, personally, and that's okay. I feel like y'all rock with this pretty well, and I think more than anything, y'all just really want me to upload and just stay consistent. You know what I'm saying? And so that's pretty much what I'm trying to do, which kind of brings me to today's topic, because today's topic is about consistency and self-discipline, because those are two very important factors when doing something like this or just doing something that you love. You have to be able to hold yourself accountable. You got to be willing to accept failure, because it's going to happen in your life. It's going to happen when you're trying to do something great. So it's just all part of the process, man. You just got to remember that, when going forward. And while I'm at it, I want to also add on at the fact that, yes, this kind of sounds kind of similar to last episode, and that was intentional. It was on purpose, just because, for those of you that don't know, if you guys didn't get it in my last episode, basically what I want to do is each week I want to talk about a specific topic. So the reason why I do it by week is because I feel like it gives people the opportunity to be more interactive and kind of just join the conversation, be a part of it. So that way in the next following episode, I can go ahead and address whatever it is that you want me to talk about. You know what I mean? So, like, again, I said that last week, but if you didn't pick up on that, that's kind of what I'm doing. So this episode is kind of piggyback off of the last episode, but also be more informative, to give you guys like the tips and tricks of how it, like, what it means to stay consistent and just kind of like, I don't know, I guess you could say, like, grow, or the proper tools you need to be able to grow into the space that it is you want to create, not only for yourself but for others. So with that being said, I think that consistency and self-discipline are definitely something that I struggled with throughout, this whole idea of doing this podcast, because I felt like it's something that I knew I was familiar with it, but in the same sentence, I wasn't really living by it. You know what I'm saying? Especially and with the ability to be consistent and the ability to have self-discipline. Like, I'm probably the worst person to probably do something that's very consistent, and it's not because I don't like to do it or that I get lazy. It's just I'm very easily like unmotivated. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get unmotivated very easily, but that's something that is within myself. Has nothing to do with anybody else or any other situation. I think it's just more of like my self-confidence and what I believe to be worth it. You know what I mean? So, like, I can't put that on anybody else. I have to take full accountability for that. But within doing that, I also have to make sure that I stay, like, on top of it, to make sure that I grow through it. You know what I'm saying? And I get better with it, because if I don't, then everything else is just going to be an excuse, and that's all it's going to be. You know what I'm saying? I will say, again, sorry to you guys for dropping the ball, because yesterday was supposed to be the upload for this podcast in specifics, but again, I tried to do the video thing and it didn't work out, and I wanted to put something out still, you know what I mean? I still wanted to put something together to put out, but I just knew that by the time I would have finished it and uploaded it and edited it, it would have already been like 8, 9 o'clock. And not to say that I can't upload during those times, but I just like to stick to my certain schedule. I have a certain timestamp in my head. I have a certain type of window that I like to create for myself. And so it's like if I can't meet that criteria or those requirements, I don't feel comfortable enough to be able to like post it. You know what I'm saying? Like willingly. You know what I'm saying? If somebody else did it and I don't know about it, that's different. But you know what I'm saying? Being that I'm the one that pretty much controls everything, the ins and outs of things, that's why I just thought that it would be a better decision to just kind of like wait till the following day to kind of put it out. So that's pretty much what I'm doing today. So I want to talk about like like how you can become better at being consistent and how you can have better self discipline within yourself. One of the things that worked for me is the fact that you give yourself, as I kind of mentioned this just now, but like giving yourself kind of like a blueprint of what it is that you're going to be able to like reflect on when you're perfecting your craft. You know what I mean? So like for instance, like give yourself, like an itinerary as to what it is that you want to talk about section by section, and then find ways that you want to elaborate that and how you're going to use that as a skill to be able to help like better your content. You know what I'm saying? So basically what you can do, and again what I did was, for those of you that don't follow me on Instagram, you guys didn't see the post that I had posted, but you can follow me at Anything Goes with Joe if you guys want to keep up with the kind of like the behind the scenes of what it is, how I create my content, and so on and so forth. But I created this post, and within this post, it was a screenshot of what it was that I wanted to upload throughout the week. So, like, remember again, as I said earlier, each week it's gonna be a topic. So each episode is gonna be a total of 3 episodes a week. So then, in those 3 episodes, it's gonna cover that one topic, but it's gonna be sectionalized. So that's basically what I was trying to show you guys within that post of how, you know what I'm saying, but like what to expect, when to expect it, and kind of like the lead off, you know what I mean, of how it's gonna like branch out and things of that nature. Again, if you guys see that post, make sure to leave a like down below and like comment if you think that's a good idea, because I'm kind of just trying to like brainstorm ideas. I'm not really like getting a second opinion, which is kind of bad, but also really good, because I feel like it kind of forces me to expand my creativity, because I have a lot of good ideas in my head, you know what I'm saying, like when making these type of things and like when going forward with certain processes, but sometimes I find it hard to like put it on a piece of paper. So when I think about these ideas, sometimes I go ahead and just kind of like put it on, like, I guess you could say, the reserve section, and then it'll come back to me later on when I'm thinking about something else. It'll come back to me and it'll give me a reason, like, okay, I thought about this for a reason, because I can implement this here, you know what I'm saying, and this would make that would help boost this a lot more, or that would help, you know what I mean, like just make it a better overall like kind of vibe, you know what I mean. So that's one of the things that I also like to do. Another thing that I also like to do is, so whatever it is that you want to do in terms of, whether like whatever goal you have career wise, whether it be a podcast, whether it be a makeup company, whether it be a lash company, whether it be a motivational speaker, whatever your heart desires, it's always important to know that everybody was inspired by somebody, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, find those people that you feel like you can resonate with the most that are already doing it, and figure out ways that you can do what they're doing, but on a better level, on a bigger scale, you know what I'm saying? So like, for instance, I never talk about how I kind of got into the podcast realm of things, like how I kind of got from like familiar with the juices and stuff of like how podcasts work. But so when I started, I actually, because again, like I said before, this was something that I always wanted to do, but what helped me kind of reach that assurance was watching people like Tanner Fox. Tanner Fox is a YouTuber, aka influencer, however you want to view him. He's a influencer that started off doing like scootering and stuff like that, but he actually has his own podcast. Now, granted, he has a lot more strings and things that he can attach himself to and grow as a business, but I look at him because he's somebody that I believe, don't quote me on this, but I think he's like around 20, 21, 22 years old, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, but he's been in the business like atmosphere for since he was like, I think like 16 or 15. So he's been going at it for a while, you know what I mean? But it's like the fact that he's so that he started at such a young age and looking at where he is now with just in a few years, like it's so crazy because like it just comes to show to me that even though I'm in my mid 20s, I guess you could say, or going to be in my mid 20s, like I can still, build my empire by the time I'm 30, or by even when in my mid 30, when I'm in my mid 30s, I would already have a greater establishment to be able to build off of and grind off of it, maybe even make it even bigger than what I ever anticipated. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, but that gives me like kind of like the grounding level of like showing me, hey, you know what I'm saying? If this kid is doing it at 15 years old, you know what I'm saying, and now he's, I don't know, 20 something, and he has X, Y, and Z. There's no reason why you, in your position, no matter how old you are, not just speaking for myself, but speaking for all of you listening to me, there's no reason within 5 to 6 years you can't be in that same position or even better. You know what I'm saying? But again, everything, you have to understand that everything takes time. Everything kind of happens at its own pace. It's not gonna happen when you want it. It's gonna happen when you're ready for it. You know what I'm saying? That's one of the biggest things that I had to realize with doing something like this. Because again, I talked about this before too, but it's so easy to get caught up in the numbers and the likes and the streams and so many different things that you tend to forget about why you started to do these type of things. So that's why it's important to have these type of I guess you could say inspirations to look up to. You know what I'm saying? Another person that I also follow, or that I also kind of get my spark from, is us. I don't know. Some of you may know him, some of you may not, but his name is Bradley Martin, and he's I don't know. I guess he's more of like a fitness guru or whatever. Like he's more of like all about like fitness and health and all this. Like what I'm saying. He's more of like a gym rat, I guess, and like, but he has a podcast as well where he kind of just goes off script with a lot of different things and talks to different people and kind of tries to get like a better insight of who they are, like, and why they do what they do career wise, So, but the way he does it too, again, the business aspect of it, he has his hands like in so many different pockets and so many different strings of revenue that it's like he doesn't necessarily need to do that podcast, but it's something that could pay off in dividends if he chose to make it bigger than what it was. You know what I mean? So it's like, I look at all these different ideas and how people are constructing their ways, and it just gives me like the influence, like, and motivation to just kind of do more of the same. I don't want to bite off exactly what it is that they're doing, because I know that everybody kind of does things in their own way, but it does give me a better insight as to how deeply I can expand this, my not only my thought process, but also my creativity. One of the things that I also wanted to kind of like think of, like, I thought about was expanding the way that I do things in terms of getting people like that are disabled and stuff like that. Because again, like with my situation in particular, like, yes, I was born disabled, but a lot of people that are disabled now are overall are not born disabled. They actually get into some type of accident or something happens to them and then they end up disabled. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, I think it'd be cool to kind of get their stories and figure out how they get through it. You know what I'm saying? And what their thought process was, being that at some point in time in their life, whether it was when they were little or whether it was, just a few months ago, that they were able to walk and stuff like that. See, so it's like, they have two different perspectives of life. They know what it's like to be independent and kind of do things for themselves, and then they know what it's like to be confined to a chair or whatever it may be, whatever their limitations are, of course. But I thought that bringing that to light would also kind of expand the platform too, because it would give people like a comfortable space to just kind of talk about the different struggles and ins and outs that they kind of like face throughout the whole process of kind of not only going through being disabled, but also coming to terms and accepting the fact that they are disabled. You know what I'm saying? So because I know for me that just because like even my situation with being born disabled, it was still kind of hard to come to terms with it because I never really understood the full effect of what it was until I was about like maybe like seventh grade, so like middle school. You know what I'm saying? Like I knew I had some form of disability, but I didn't know the level of severity that it was. You know what I'm saying? Until I got to like middle school and high school, and I was only because like then you start dealing with people that are like bullies and things of that nature, and you start going through that course of life, which does I'm not saying that like pity me, but I'm saying that like that really instead of it breaking me, it actually helped me grow and evolve because I use that not only to like find myself, but it also helped me spread awareness to other different horizons and like things that were going on, you know, because I only knew about my situation. So when I got to like, you know, high school and middle school, high school, around that era, I started meeting people that were also disabled, but they had different diagnoses. So it helped me understand what it was that they were going through and how they got through it, and it made me feel like my situation wasn't even that deep. You know what I'm saying? Because like a lot of times when you're going through something so like I'm not gonna say traumatic, but it's something that is definitely life changing. Like when you really have to break it down to a science as to what it is and how it affects you, it can mess with you mentally 1,000%. And so it's like you often feel like you're kind of just like stuck in this realm. It's like stuck in like this bubble. You know what I'm saying? But when I started to feel that way, that's when I feel like the universe kind of put people that were like me inside of my bubble. You know what I'm saying? So then it was like, well, what do I not necessarily what do I have to complain about, but rather like what am I doing like focusing on myself when there's so many other things that people are going through that I can be an advocate for, which kind of led to this whole full circle kind of realm of just like, I want to say almost like a testimony, but not really. It's just more of like this whole experience that I never really even knew was a thing, you know? But not to say that my first time seeing anybody disabled was in middle school or high school, because it dates all the way back into you know, when I was in elementary, because when before I even knew what my disability was, um, I knew, and I don't say that to be like, oh, negligence or anything of that nature. Like, I'm not claiming that. I'm just saying that the way that I was raised was different, because the way that I was raised, I wasn't raised to like be looked at as somebody that had a disability. I wasn't excluded from any of the activities that my sisters or brothers were doing at the time. So it was like, to me, I knew I had a different way of getting around, but it wasn't like, it didn't affect me to the point where it was like I felt bad for myself or I felt pity. I just knew that I had a different way of doing things, and that was it, you know. So when I got to elementary and I seen people that were disabled as well, I actually, for the first time in a while, I not only was trying to kind of get the concept of what it was that I was going through, but also it kind of gave me a sense of comfortability for the first time in a while, because I seen somebody, or I seen multiple people that had been disabled and stuff. So it was like, it just kind of like opened the door for me a little bit. Again, I was still young at the time, so I couldn't really grasp the full impact of what it was going to have on my life until later on, you know, later years. But it still gave me that glimpse of like, oh shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not alone in this thing. And I think that that's what made me feel a lot more content with being disabled in itself, because, you know, if you're going to a school where there's nothing but regular body, whatever your idea of regular is, right? Or a sense of normalcy, when you go to school where there's people that aren't in wheelchairs and they are walking around and they are, you know what I'm saying, doing regular day-to-day activities with no struggle, it's like you almost feel like there's no sense of like belonging. And it sounds a little bit dramatic, but people really do go through that type of stuff. And I'm not gonna say I went through it entirely 1,000%, but I did feel kind of like a glimpse. I was able to kind of like foreshadow it though, because again, I had a good support system around me. I had my brothers and I had my sisters to really like bring me up to not feel like I was so like I was just some fucking like, you know, I don't want to say alien, but rather like um indistinct fucking creature. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, I did get the stares, and I did get people from the outside that didn't really understand who I was as a person. Obviously, I had them to worry about, and their looks and stares and all this stuff and curiosities. But instead of taking it in a bad way, I used it as a moment to be able to be teachable and be like, hey, like, so this is what I have, this is how I got it. You know what I'm saying? I don't know much about the situation, but I know enough to know that this is how it affects me. Does that make sense? So when going forward, that's why I started actually, and it kind of, again, it comes full circle because after having those encounters in middle school, high school, elementary, whatever, that's what allowed me to be more of like an activist for this type of stuff. So then I went into kind of like motivational speaking and so on and so forth. But that was my reason. You know what I'm saying? I say all that to say that that was my reason, because it helped bring everything like full circle. You know what I'm saying? So doing this, that's why I feel like this is just the next level, the next chapter, the next, you know what I'm saying, thing that is gonna bring more light to the situation. Because although disability people, people with disabilities, the conversation is growing, and people are expanding and stuff, it's still not at the level that it should be. There's still not enough ADA accessible areas in the world for people with disabilities. Like, there's still so many limitations that we have, just as much as there is freedoms that we have now, because it's been such a more drastic topic to talk, that's been covered. Like, so my main thing is not only to like like spread awareness, but also give people the spotlight to be able to do something of that nature, which is why I feel like getting people, again, to get back on track to what it is that I'm saying, um I feel like it's better to give people the opportunity to share their side of things, because when it's somebody that's not have been that wasn't disabled, that is disabled, that probably has to be harder to come to terms with than versus somebody that has always been disabled, if that makes sense, right? So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below, and let me know if you think that that's a good idea. I came up with that the other day. I was just kind of thinking about it and like brainstorming and stuff, and then I was just like, you know what? Why isn't that a thing? You know what I'm saying? Because like, yes, there is other disabled creators that do have podcasts, but you never really hear like a one-on-one conversation from one disabled to another disabled. You know what I'm saying? So I think that that would just be the perfect opportunity to allow people to elaborate the whole science behind it, and spread awareness to, you know what I'm saying, show people that I feel like more than showing people your side of the story, I think it's important to show people how to treat disabled, because I feel like the common misconception is this: like, people see disabled people, and right off the top they want to say, "Hey, what happened to you?" Like, you know what I'm saying? And although that doesn't really sound too like aggressive, it kind of is more of a mental kind of conflict than it is a physical form, because it's like, to us, or at least to me, I'm gonna speak for myself in this, because I feel like everybody has their own opinion with this, but to me, I don't feel like nothing's wrong with me. So if you're coming up to me and asking me what's wrong with me, what happened to me, that's when it's like, hold on, wait a second, like, what are you saying? Because to me, this is all I know, right? This is all I've seen growing up. This is all I've ever really experienced with. I've never known any other thing outside of my life than this itself. You know what I'm saying? So when you're coming up to me and being like, hey, what happened to you? Like, how do you expect me to take that? You know what I'm saying? And I gotten better with dealing with that over time. But that's what I'm saying. Like, by getting people that are on the podcast, aside from myself, that can share their story, it gives me like kind of not only like their side of the story, but better perception, because I feel like it's easy for me to get lost into what it is and laser focused into what I'm going through. But then when you put it into a broader perspective and I get to see different sides and actually hear the stories of how, not only how it happened, but also how they get through it, I think that's what makes it a lot better. But again, on top of that, it would also teach people, as I'm learning, it would teach people how to communicate with other disabled people and then not be so like straightforward or like aggressive with the approach. To me, I feel like it would be cool to just go up to, like, if I saw, like, if I wasn't disabled and I went up to a person that was disabled, and I wouldn't say, hey, what happened to you? What I would say is, hey, buddy, how are you? I would treat you like a regular human being. Treat me like a regular human being, because even though I have a different appearance, and even though I grow around a different, I get around in a different way, that doesn't make me less of a person. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a failed science experiment or something, or a freaking lab rat. Like, you know what I'm saying? Treat me with some sort of respect. And I know I can speak for a lot of the community when I say this. You know what I'm saying? Because so many people get bad stares. Like, that all you would really have to do is just literally treat me like a regular person, and kind of gradually, you know what I'm saying, like, get into that realm of, wanting to know more about it, but don't just go straight for the, you know what I'm saying? Because then it's like, well, damn, are you calling me stupid? Are you calling me dumb? Like, I just don't understand that part of things. And I don't think I'll ever understand it, you know what I'm saying? Because everybody has their own perspective and the way that they handle things and the way that they see things. But, like, still, you know what I'm saying? That's why I feel like this podcast would also be a good opportunity to show people that there is a right and wrong way of approaching things. But now that you guys know kind of like more where I get my inspiration from when it comes to consistency and self-discipline, because of, like, as I said before, the people that I mentioned when, coming up with the idea to make the podcast, that's what gave me that motivation and kind of like overall perspective of what it meant to be consistent, what it meant to have self-discipline. But I feel like it goes deeper than that, because of the simple fact that, yes, it's cool to have these people that you idolize, but also it really comes down to who you are as a person and what you feel comfortable with putting out, right? Because it's like when creating something, whatever it is, whatever the situation is, you're gonna have these doubts, you're gonna have these feelings of uncertainty, and you're gonna feel like it's not for you. You know what I'm saying? And that's natural. That comes with the territory, because there's just, I don't know, like, that's just the way that the way your brain operates, because it's like a fight or flight response. A lot of the times people don't ever go through with these billion-dollar ideas, because it's like, well, they don't feel like it's going to grasp the amount of attention that they need. So then somebody else picks it up and they're like, oh shit. You know what I'm saying? So then 10 years later, you got fucking Tommy over here fucking living on billions and billions of dollars, while Sammy, the person who originally came with the idea, has nothing, because he never fulfilled that, his idea of his imagination, his investment. So it's like, with that's why I say self-discipline is so important, because it's like, you have to be real with yourself, and you have to understand your weaknesses, because nobody knows your weaknesses better than you do, and nobody should know your weaknesses better than you do, right? So it's like, instead of, just being so quick to being like, oh, you know what, fuck this, it's not gonna work, da da da, you have to be able to motivate yourself to be like, hey, look, this is what I want to do. I don't know how the heck I'm going to get there yet. You know what I'm saying? But what I can do is put A, B, and C into motion, so that I can go ahead and get, a D, E, and F, or whatever the heck I want to do. However I want to operate is however I'm going to operate, but it's going to be on my terms, and that's how I'm going to get down. So then when you start to grow that revenue, and you start to gain that traction and kind of build that empire, build that base, then it's like, now you can go ahead and say, okay, I want this person to work for me because this person knows more about this than I do. You know what I'm saying? Like, you get to put the pieces of the chess puzzle together, and that's what literally creates the biggest foundation you could ever possibly fucking think of, But you wouldn't know that if you didn't have that retrospective of discipline, of just, sticking to the script no matter how crazy it gets. You have to be able to realize and put yourself in the mindset of a winner. It sounds crazy and it sounds cliche, but it really comes down to that. If you don't think big, you're not going to win big, right? And that can be a give and take too, though, because sometimes, we think bigger than what it is that we're actually performing. So then when we get up to, excuse me, when we get up to a bigger and a higher scale, but then we're not seeing the performance, that can be very discouraging. But no, please know this, because this is something that I understand now, doing this for the third time. Like, I know now that even if it doesn't pick up now, and not to say not even 5 years from now, let's say 2 years from now, you know what I'm saying? Who's to say that it's not going to gain the attention of one person? That's all it takes, literally. It's just gaining the attention of one person. One person sees your idea and says, hey, this is a great idea. This is a great establishment. I want to be a part of this. And guess what? Because you came up with the idea, because you came up with the material, because you are 100% behind you get to decide what this person pays you for being a part of your company. You get to decide how the revenue is distributed. You know what I'm saying? And that's the beauty of being your own boss, bro. Like, it's not going to come together right away. You're not going to figure it out in one fucking night. But it's like, it's taking the proper steps. Again, using that discipline, that self-discipline to know the difference between doing something for the long run versus doing something that's going to give you that 15 seconds. We don't want the 15 seconds. We want the whole fucking movie, right? Because again, you have that opportunity to do that because you possess the power that controls what it is that you can do with your business, what it is that the next step that you take, you know what I'm saying, to get to the bigger level, to get to the higher stakes. You know what I mean? Again, there's always going to be somebody that's done something that you want to do in your life or that you feel like you would really be good at. But it's not about how many people are doing what you're doing. It's about what you're going to do different that's going to make yours way better than anybody else's, than anybody else could ever think of. It's always about that next person in line, bro. So always remember that and stay focused on that. Don't lose sight of that. And it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. It's going to be hard. You're going to face a lot of challenges throughout the time. But you have to be able to just, again, go back to the proper channels of how you're going to get there. Create that blueprint. I did it. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, I might not be, you know what I'm saying, like 100% right. I might not be 100% accurate. I might be missing out on so many different steps. But it's like, that's the beauty of it all. Because at the end of the day, putting out this episode is based off of the knowledge that I know now. 2 years from now, a year from now, I'm going to know a lot more, and I can come back to this exact topic and be like, hey, by the way, you can also do doom, 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 doom. And you just always grow. It's like, it doesn't matter how much you know right now, because what you know right now is not what you're gonna know in the long run. You're gonna know and learn and grow a lot more, and you're gonna be able to handle a lot of these situations far more better than what you ever imagined. But you're not gonna know if you don't put that effort into, create that opening for yourself. You have to be the one to create that opening, bro. Nobody's gonna do that for you unless that's what you want. You want somebody to pick up your idea and kind of like co-sign on it. Okay, cool. You know what I'm saying? But just know that there could be a high possibility that you're gonna be trapped in that situation, and they're gonna want to take 50 to 60% of your profits, which doesn't sound like a lot, but imagine what you could do with that. You know what I'm saying? Imagine what you can do with that just by being your own boss. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can do, instead of them taking that 50, 60%, you can invest that whole 100% and pay off in dividends the amount of level and hard work and determination, you know what I'm saying, that you can build. Like, you can use that to build even a bigger establishment in the future if you just took the time to work on yourself and perfect yourself, perfect your craft. You don't need no Joe Schmo to be like, hey, come with me and I can get you 50%, but no, because that's not good, man. Like, yeah, okay, like, if it's like deals or sponsorships, okay, cool, that's different. But don't let some Joe Schmo be like, I could take your company to the next level if you just pay. No, fuck that. Because all that's going to do, and I could be totally wrong. Everybody has their own perspectives and opinions, whatever, but I genuinely feel like all that's gonna come down to in the end of it is, oh, well, you owe me this because of this and this and this and this and this bunch of legalities. That's why it's important to have paperwork. You gotta, if you're gonna take that route, make sure you sign some documents stating that this is what I agreed upon. Because if you don't, that's how that motherfucker Uncle Sam, that's how that fool comes biting your ass. You know what I'm saying? Because then you're going to owe this person this much money. You're going to owe so much money in the end of it all that the amount of money you're going to be left with is probably 20% out of that whole 100 that you could have done, that you could have had all to yourself. You only left with 20% because too many people in the industry end up with that problem, and that's why they end up the one hitter quitters, as they call them. You know, they get that one single, that one breath of fresh air, that 15 seconds. That 15 seconds is up, boom, you're done. Now what you gonna do? You know what I mean? So it's just like, I'm not saying that, I'm not saying that don't do that entirely. If you know more about the business level and you kind of are able to pick your percentages and stuff and have more control of where A, B, and C goes, right? Like, then do that. You know what I'm saying? If you feel comfortable enough to do that, if you know somebody that knows somebody, okay. But I personally rather be the person to kind of have control of all my situations, the whole, not even just the finances, but just everything, every sense of direction, because I know that in the long run, that whatever I want to put out is going to be able to be put out without some Joe Schmo saying, oh, you can't do this because this doesn't abide by the guidelines. Fuck the guidelines. Make your own rules. Be your own boss. And that's all I got to say about that type of situation. But with that being said, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Join the family. And with that being said, I'll see y'all next time. Peace.